Dimitri, a homeless man at his lowest point, had long given up hope when he found himself face to face with a massive reindeer. Expecting an attack, Dimitri braced for impact, but it never came. Instead, the reindeer nudged him gently, insisting on his attention. Confused and weak from days without food, Dimitri was unsure why this wild animal would approach him. Yet, there was something about its persistence that made him follow. But before we dive into the story, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our exciting stories. For years, Dimitri had drifted aimlessly, struggling to survive after losing his job and home. Life in the city had been hostile, with locals hurling insults and law enforcement chasing him away. With no plan, Dimitri decided to leave the city, pulling together what little money he had to buy supplies. But those supplies ran out quickly, and within a week, he was starving and exhausted, sitting by the roadside with no will to continue. That was when the reindeer appeared, and against all logic, Dimitri followed it. The animal seemed to need his help, but how could a man with nothing left to give possibly make a difference? Despite his doubts, Dimitri found himself trailing the reindeer into the dense forest. As they moved deeper into the wilderness, Dimitri's mind raced. Why had this wild creature chosen him? He was no hero, just a broken man. But something urged him on, and soon he would discover why. When they reached a clearing, Dimitri's heart nearly stopped. Lying in the mud were two small reindeer, both injured and in terrible condition. One had a large wound, possibly from a bullet, and was groaning in pain. Dimitri's instincts as a former nurse kicked in. He had never treated animals, but he couldn't stand by and do nothing. He cleaned the wound as best as he could, using water from a nearby puddle and leaves to stop the bleeding. Then, despite his aching body, he lifted the injured animal and carried it toward the road, hoping someone would help. After placing the first reindeer by the side of the road, Dimitri hurried back to the clearing to retrieve the second. Though it wasn't as severely injured as the first, it was still in pain and needed attention. Dimitri carried it back to the road where he stood, waving frantically at passing cars. Several vehicles zoomed past without stopping, but finally the seventh car, driven by a middle-aged woman, pulled over. The woman was shocked to see the two injured reindeer but didn't hesitate to offer help. Together, they carefully lifted the animals into the trunk of her car, barely managing to fit them inside. Dimitri climbed into the passenger seat, and they sped toward the nearest veterinarian clinic, hoping to save the animals before it was too late. When they arrived, the vet rushed out to help after hearing Dimitri's frantic explanation. The reindeer were quickly taken into the clinic for emergency treatment. As the vet worked on the animals, Dimitri and the woman, named Jenna, waited anxiously in the hallway. Dimitri couldn't shake the thought of the man he had met earlier on the road, the one with the gun. Could he have been the one who shot these defenseless animals? Fueled by anger and a sense of responsibility, Dimitri decided to take action. He called the local police and reported the incident, sharing his suspicions about the man with the gun. The officers promised to investigate the matter immediately. A few hours later, the police found bullet shells near the scene, and through ballistics testing, they matched the shells to the man Dimitri had encountered earlier. The man was arrested, denying his involvement. But the evidence was clear. He was charged with illegally shooting wild animals and possessing a firearm without a valid license. The man spent a night in jail and was soon released, but he was required to appear in court to face charges. Dimitri and Jenna attended the trial, eager to see justice served. In the courtroom, the judge handed down a sentence of 3 months in prison for the illegal shooting and revoked the man's gun license. Additionally, all his firearms were confiscated. Dimitri and Jenna felt relieved knowing the animals would be safe from further harm. They hugged each other as the verdict was read, grateful that the situation had come to a just end. After the trial, Dimitri received an unexpected offer. A group of animal activists who had heard about his efforts to save the reindeer approached him with a job opportunity. They wanted him to work within their organization, which specialized in rescuing neglected and injured animals. Dimitri was taken aback, but immediately accepted the offer. For the first time in years, he had a legitimate opportunity to earn a living and rebuild his life. Weeks later, Dimitri started his new job, where he quickly adapted to the work of animal rescue. The organization valued his compassion and determination, traits he hadn't felt in himself for a long time. 2 months after the reindeer incident, Dimitri returned to the veterinarian clinic to check on the animals he had saved. The vet greeted him with a smile and shared the good news. Both reindeer had fully recovered and had been released back into the wild. The only challenge had been finding their mother, the reindeer that had initially approached Dimitri. After hours of searching, the team finally located her, and she joyfully reunited with her 2 young reindeer. It was a heartwarming moment that none of the caretakers would forget. Dimitri listened to the vet's story with a sense of deep satisfaction. Knowing that the reindeer family had been reunited gave him a feeling of purpose that he hadn't experienced in years. It was hard to believe how much had changed in such a short time. From being homeless and hopeless, he had found himself at the center of an incredible journey that led not only to saving 2 lives, but also to finding a new path for his own. As Dimitri left the clinic, his thoughts returned to the moment when the reindeer had first approached him by the side of the road. At the time, he couldn't have imagined the series of events that would follow, or how drastically his life would change. What had started as a desperate situation had turned into an unexpected opportunity, one that allowed him to make a real difference. Dimitri's work with the animal rescue organization grew over the next few months. He became known for his gentle and patient approach with the animals, earning the trust of his colleagues and supervisors. His life had taken a turn he never thought possible, and for the first time in a long time, he felt hopeful about the future. One day, while reflecting on how far he'd come, Dimitri received a call from Jenna. She wanted to check in on him and catch up on everything that had happened since their adventure with the reindeer. They met for coffee and shared stories about the lives they had rebuilt since that day. For Dimitri, it was a reminder that even in the darkest times, something unexpected could appear and change everything.